Terrifier 2. This is going to be a spoiler review, so if you are concerned about spoilers, I would suggest you go ahead and watch the movie first before you watch this review. Terrifier 2 is the sequel to Terrifier, a 2016 movie, I believe, about Art the Clown, a evil, benevolent force who kills people on Halloween, I think? Yeah, let's say on Halloween. So, as far as what I liked about the movie, I liked the cast. Particularly, I thought David Howard Thornton as Art the Clown. I love his performance. I loved him in the last movie. I don't think he played him in the earlier one, All Hallows Eve. But yeah, he's great in this. He's got a lot of mime background, I think. He's kind of a tall, thin guy. And I just really like his performance. I find him creepy and funny and weird and intriguing. And yeah, he's really good in this. He's probably my favorite part of the movie by far. I liked Georgia Mcphail as the Pale Girl, his little assistant who shows up in this movie. It's a new character that wasn't in the last one. And I like some of the friends. Kailey Hyman as Brooke and Casey Harnett as Allie. I like them both a lot. Charlie McElveen as Jeff, who was Brooke's boyfriend. All of their performances I thought were pretty good, and I liked their characters quite a bit. Again, talk a little bit more about Art the Clown and the little girl. Like I said, I love Art the Clown. I think he's a really good horror movie villain. I think probably one of the best ones of the last 20 years or so, honestly. And I really liked him, and I really liked the little girl. I like the introduction of her, the way we see her. And at first, we don't know what's going on, where she came from, what her deal is. Then we realize it's all kind of in his head, and he's just imagining it. But yes, her introduction, and it's just very graphic and very disgusting and very disturbing. And so, yeah, it was fun. I liked it a lot. The makeup effects in this movie are really great. They're really quite good. They're all done by the director, a guy named Damien Leone, and he has a background in special effects and makeup. He did that first before he started making movies and directing movies. So yeah, special effects and makeup in this movie are really quite good. There's one scene in particular where they're sort of smashing this guy's head, and you can still see his mouth moving. And so I'm not sure if that's animatronics or some sort of a composite shot or CGI or what they did there actually, but it's a really cool scene. I really liked it. The music and the score in this movie, really good. Midnight is featured heavily in the movie, and that's a band that's one of my friend's favorite bands, so I'm familiar with them, and I've known about them for a while. When I heard they were doing the soundtrack, I was super stoked, and yeah, it's great. It really fits the movie. It's got a very cool look to it, and it fits the scenes really well. Sound design in this movie is really good as well. I think part of why a lot of the scares work so well is because the sound design is so good. It's got these creepy kind of noises and these sort of stings that they use to work along with the horrifying images or things that you see that like really help to convey the sense of dread and terror and fear. Really good stuff there. I think the cinematography and the overall look of the movie is really cool. It's got this very nice, very simple kind of late 70s, early 80s kind of schlocky, not exactly grindhouse, but that kind of level of just very disturbing and brutal, but also very visceral and very just not too fancy or showy or anything like that. Just very, I don't know. I don't exactly know how to describe it, but I really like it. And I think most importantly for this movie, there's some very brutal and very unique kills. The ones that really stand out to me, of course, I think the one that really just had me just grinning with just maniacal laughter is when he starts stabbing the girl and then he leaves for a second. You think she's okay. And he comes back with bleach and salt and just starts pouring bleach and salt all over her stab wounds, which is horrifying, of course. But in a movie like this, it's so over the top and it's so ridiculous that it's really funny. Like I really enjoyed it because it was just so insane that you're just like, oh my God, how far are you gonna go with this? The thing with the mashed potatoes and the mom, really funny too. A lot of good stuff there. Yeah, just really fun, really cool ways to kill people and mess people up. And like I said, I love a good exploding head or anything like that. Always good. A good face peel, good face melt. Always gonna get me excited for that. As far as what I disliked about the movie, overall, the acting in this movie is not very good. Lauren LaVera is our main character, Sienna. She's not terrible. She's not bad by any means. She's actually, I would say, okay. Maybe even, well, I'd say she's fine. But unfortunately, I don't think she's quite able to handle the material. I don't think she's quite up to the task that was given to her. Her acting, I would say, is about the level of like a CW TV show, like that kind of thing, you know? We've got Felisa Rose from Sleepaway Camp is in there as her mom, Miss Principe. Of course, I love Sleepaway Camp. I love Felisa Rose. She's, didn't do any acting for a long time there, but now she's coming back, and I've noticed she's got a bunch of stuff coming out in the next couple of years, so she's clearly getting back into it, and that's good for her. That being said, her performance is not that good. Again, it's not terrible. It's actually okay. Like she's conveying the right emotions. She's just not doing them the right way. And I really feel like it's maybe a little unfair to all the actors to say it's them, because I also didn't particularly like the kid Elliot Fullam as Jonathan, her little brother. And Chris Jericho, of course, wasn't very good, but what do you expect there? But with those three, I really feel like their performances weren't terrible. It was just something was a little off. And I feel like a lot of it was down to the directing and editing. I know I've said this before, but like I think a good director can get a good performance out of a less than good actor. And I think that really the way your performance comes across, it has a lot to do with acting, it has a lot to do with editing. And yeah, in this case, I really feel like there's something that could have been done. That it with some different edits or some different direction, or maybe just a couple more kind of subtle visual cues or kind of body language type stuff that the actors could have made that stuff just feel a little bit more real. I didn't really like the father story, the family story. I didn't care about the family story, but I also didn't exactly understand what it was. I mean, it sounds like the father's dead, and he was an artist, and he had drawn this angel character for his daughter that he said she was going to grow up to be, I guess. And that kind of bothered me because she was, supposed to be this like sexy angel character with like, this little midriff, kind of bearing outfit and all this stuff. And I'm like, there's even a scene where the mom's like, you're showing too much skin or whatever, which is what a mom would say. But then, as she walks away, she's like, your dad would love it. I'm like, what do you really? I feel like your dad would be like, yeah, you might want outside my house looking like that. What are you doing? Unless the dad and daughter had a weird relationship, which maybe they did, because a guy to draw that for his daughter seems weird to me. I don't know, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a psychologist. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just too much for prude, but it seems weird to me. And at some point, her friend does mention to her boyfriend that she was abused by her dad. Now, they don't go too much into the abuse or anything like that, but it did start to make me worry that this is going to take another route. And again, that's something. So her dad was apparently delusional, but he knew about Art the Clown, and so he maybe wasn't actually delusional, but then he said that she was the one who could defeat him. But then his daughter Sienna was also seeing like the little girl, who we know is just in Art's head, and she was also hearing the little girl pretending to speak as if she were her little brother. So is Sienna also crazy then, or were she and her dad not crazy at all? They just seem like they're crazy. Like it's stuff like this where I'm like, okay, so what are you trying to say here, and what do you need? There's some dream sequences, at least one dream sequence. I never like dream sequences; they always piss me off. In this case, at least you could tell it was a dream sequence. It was very obvious immediately because they showed her in bed, and then the imagery was very surreal, and it was very obvious it was a dream. But still, I don't like dream stuff. It doesn't really add much to the story for me. I don't need it. Like I said, I really didn't get or care for the theme or idea to the story. And the movie is just too damn long. It's again a movie, it's 2 hours and 18 minutes, and that's too long. It doesn't need to be that long. It could be an hour and a half. And if this movie were half an hour, 45 minutes shorter, I think it would be a really, really good, nice, tight little horror movie with some really cool kills and some really great special effects. Unfortunately, we've got 45 minutes, an hour of backstory about characters that I don't care about being, performed by actors who aren't very good. So that was kind of my issue with it. So other than that, the movie is directed by Damien Leone. I don't know how to pronounce it. He did the first Terrifier movie. He also did something called All Hallows Eve and Frankenstein versus the Mummy, which I have not seen. I'm intrigued. The makeup looks good in it, but it doesn't seem like it's got very good reviews. So yeah, the first movie, Terrifier, the original, I really loved. I just saw it actually a couple months ago for the first time, and it was one of my favorite movies of the last 5 or 6 years, I'd say, horror movies at least. I've only seen it once. I haven't watched it again. I might not like it as much the first time, but yeah, the first time I watched it, I just loved it. I thought it was great. I loved the look. I loved the idea, the way that it was done. I loved the character of Art the Clown. And so I think I went into this one with a lot of expectations, and I had heard all this crazy stuff about how good it was, and I ended up being maybe a little disappointed by it. And maybe that was just because my expectations were too high. I do think, though, it's got me thinking about this movie versus some of the other more recent slasher movies like Halloween Ends or Barbarian or even Smile, and why I guess I liked this one more than I liked those. And I think with Barbarian and Halloween Ends in particular, they're both kind of slasher movies, both kind of brutal, both kind of, crazy over-the-top kills. But I think the reason I like Terrifier so much more is because Art the Clown is an interesting character. He's funny and he's crazy and he doesn't even talk at all. He like literally says no words. But his performance, David Howard Thornton, no, what's his name? David Howard Thornton. Yeah, his performance is so good, even though he doesn't speak at all, that he's really entertaining and really charismatic. And for me, it's much like Freddy Krueger, another horror movie villain that I always really liked. I was terrified of him when I was a kid, but I like him now. Is because Robin Englund's performance is so good, whereas Michael Myers didn't really do as much for me because he's kind of boring. He's kind of plain. So I think that's what I liked about this movie, or why I like this movie more than those. This movie is listed as having a $250,000 budget. I don't think that's right because it looks like it costs more than that. From what I understand, there was a $50,000 Indiegogo campaign to fund a particular special effects scene. They ended up making 5 times the amount, $250,000. That's what's being reported as the budget. I don't think that's right. I feel like the budget's got to be closer to at least a couple million on this. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? But I'm thinking maybe there was some miscalculation there. That being said, whatever the budget of this movie was, it looks like it's going to make about 1.8 million, maybe 2 million this weekend. Or so far in the box office. So good for them. I mean, they're definitely probably going to make some money back. So, and it sounds like they've got plans to make Terrifier 3 and maybe even a Terrifier 4. So cool. All right. Sounds good. There were reports of people vomiting and fainting in this movie. Yeah, I guess I can maybe see that. I didn't see anything too insane for me, but other than like the bleach and salt stuff, that was funny. But yeah, I can see there's definitely. I feel like this movie pushed the envelope. And for somebody like me who watches this kind of stuff regularly, I'm just like, hey, cool, that's awesome, and I'm just like trying to figure out how they did it. But for your typical moviegoer who, watches whatever Twilight or something like that, this movie might be a little much for them. So I can see how maybe that would upset them a bit. But yeah. So as far as my score for this one, I think I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I didn't like it quite as much as I wanted to. I think I would probably give the first Terrifier an 8 out of 10, maybe even a 9, because I really liked that movie. This one, if it were half an hour shorter, it'd be an 8 easily. But the fact that it's a little too long and it does drag on a bit, and I just didn't care about the protagonist too much, brought my score down. So if you saw the movie, let me know what you thought of it down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a great night, and I will see you here again next week.